Welcome back. Rating agency CRISIL has downgraded the non-convertible debentures of an IL&FS SPV, special purpose vehicle called Jharkhand Road Projects Implementation Company Limited. The downgrade is from AA to BB. It is on the fear that this company will default on its interest payments. The reason for this is that Jharkhand Road Projects Management has written to IDBI Trusteeship, which is the trustee company, not to disburse any more dividends until further notice. Now, does this mean that the dividend will not come? And if it doesn't come, will CRISIL downgrade? For those questions, A. Bala Subramanian, the CEO of Aditya Medisales Sun Life AMC, joins us on the phone line. Bala, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. Has CRISIL downgraded to D or does it still stand at BB?
Yeah, it still stands at BB. I think the way you explained, I think the way they have done is the management has taken a call that while they are respecting the sanctity of the SPV and also respecting the sanctity of the escrow account, pending hearing from NCLTA, which is what they are planning to do, they said that all the money that is lying in the escrow account, which is earmarked only for the purpose of servicing the lenders into the respective projects, both in terms of principal repayment and the interest repayment, they have held it back till such time they get the final go-ahead from the NCLAT.
Okay.
And that money is, of course, is as good as received, but given the fact that lying in the escrow account but it cannot be utilized, and there is some bit of uncertainty which was not estimated just about a few weeks back. In fact, after the IL&FS crisis got erupted in the month of October, the rating agencies, including the people who have made investments into this kind of asset class, they did do the complete due diligence after having multiple engagement. Both the promoters of these projects, as well as understanding the whole cash flow model will work, on the basis of which all these instruments were reiterated, retaining the same rating which was given before the IL&FS crisis.
Bala, just hold that thought for a minute. This is an important news which has now come in. This is a story that Ekta was doing yesterday, and now it's confirmed the domestic business operations will be transferred to Sun Pharma's arm, the Aditya Medisales issue. Damage is already done, of course, but let's see if stock reacts.
But yeah, this is remedial measures to transfer the domestic operations from Aditya Medisales, I think, back to itself.
Back to its arm,
I would assume, or to a subsidiary. So this is important news. It is Sun Pharma taking remedial measures after all the noise around Aditya Medisales, which is its subsidiary. We're coming back to it in a minute. Bala, you know, at the moment, if somebody comes to ask you for, redeem their units, how will you value this because the dividend has not come?
No, I think from a valuation point of view, a very established process that all of us have been following. That any downgrade happens, irrespective of the instrument, that rating downgrade has to be reflected on the portfolio in the form of valuation.
What is the value that you have ascribed to all these instruments, to all the instruments of Jharkhand Road projects in your NAV calculation?
Yeah, the way we have taken the thing is, since it has become a BB from a AA, the 100 rupees value is currently being valued somewhere close to about 78 to 80. It's roughly about 20% of the value gets reduced. But I think we need to look at it from an overall NAV point of view. While you do reduce the value of the portfolio of the particular instrument, but from an NAV point of view, will be the impact will be to the extent of the percentage of holding in that instrument.
Got that.
And that will come. I think NAV impact will be about 0.5 to 0.6%.
Okay. I also want to ask you, Bala, could the structured finance market head into a lockdown, I mean, in the near term, if the SPVs of IL&FS, skip their repayments to investors until, say, the bankruptcy court resolves the debt, etc.?
Yeah, definitely you see unprecedented move. If you look at the last 4 or 5 years, one of the areas we have made a big progress is to ensuring that while the project finance is being done by the bank, the takeover financing will be done by other lenders such as mutual fund, insurance, and then the long-term pension funds coming from overseas. For them, definitely it creates some kind of uncertainty, there is no doubt.
Okay.
And given the fact that the government also know about the importance of these sectors and the refinancing need of the sectors, I would assume it's a temporary problem, I would assume, at this point of time.
Okay, Bala, just give us an idea. What is the total amount of money that is owed by that mutual funds own of the SPVs? And how much would be the banking exposure? We have some newspaper reports which say that the total mutual fund holdings of IL&FS SPVs is 3,300 crore, and the SPV, the bank exposure would be 15 to 20,000 crore. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think mutual fund SPV exposures would be little higher. I think would be in the would be the range of together, all mutual fund together. Don't look at only Jharkhand SPV.
Yes.
You would look at the SPV of similar nature.
Yeah, Hazaribagh, Jorbat, Karnataka Expressway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you would look at from a holistic basis, which in my view, that would be in the range of roughly about 1,800 crores aggregate exposure. Or not 1,800 crores, roughly about 1,300 crores aggregate exposure.
Okay.
The banking industry is pretty large, actually. The banking industry would be sitting on about 37 crores of SPV assets.
How much? 30?
It would be roughly in the range of 37 crores.
30,000 crores.
I don't have the publicly available number.
Okay.
And given the fact that most of the deals in this sector has been happening through this methodology, that SP number held by the bank and other companies would be pretty large, actually.
Okay. All right, Bala, we leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us. We need to address the other big news flow that has just come in right now. Sun Pharma has come out with an update where they're taking remedial measures, and they've said that the domestic formulations distribution to be transitioned to Sun Pharma's wholly owned subsidiary. Ekta has been covering this story. In fact, she told us that this could take place. Ekta, tell us more.
Yes, in fact, there are a couple of clarifications which have come in from the Sun Pharma management. And the first one is with regards to Aditya Medisales. Remember, Aditya Medisales is the domestic distribution arm of Sun Pharma, and it was only declared in the annual report in FY18. So now Sun Pharma has said that this Aditya Medisales, which is basically the current distributor, is going to be transferred to a wholly owned subsidiary of Sun Pharma. And this change will be made effective Q1 FY20, which is post all of the requisite approval. So that's one big important point. Now, we don't know how exactly the transfer and the nuances of the transfer would be in terms of what would take place. But the fact that they've agreed to do something like that, and with regards to all of the feedback that they've received on Aditya Medisales would be taken as a positive. And secondly, very important in terms of that 2,300 or 2,238 crore loan, in terms of that unwinding of a transaction. They've mentioned that it was related to basically Atlas Global Trading. It had to do with a total amount of $345 million. This liability was in respect to Atlas assuming damages on account of a Protonix or patent litigation which had taken place all the way back in Feb of 2013. So at that point in time, Sun Pharma had to pay around $500 million in terms of that particular patent litigation settlement on account of Protonix. And that's exactly when the loan and advances had come up at to the tune of 2,238 odd crores. They have basically spoken about how they're going to unwind this particular transaction. The fact that they've given a whole detailed view with regards to this would be another important clarification.
Okay, Ekta, let's do one thing. If you keep reading it, we'll keep coming back to you. Let's address this story in more details. Prakash Diwan is also with us. Prakash, good morning. Of course, damage control.
Yes.
But how much can be done? From here.
Too little, too late. And this is just to placate the misgivings that could probably, continue as significant headwinds for the stock. So they're just trying to address. But, tacitly, it also acknowledges that there was something wrong. Yes. And then you're trying to now set this right. So as Ekta said, it's important to figure out at what valuation this transfer happens, what is the mode, whether this all embedded value from the recent past, that's going to be also brought into the...
So if it rallies, you want to sell into the rally?
As a disclosure, I also have this stock in my portfolio. Fortunately, it wasn't very significant as a percentage, so I lived with this reality.
No, but given the damage control be seen as positive? And okay, before that, at what valuation will Aditya Medisales interest be transferred to the 100% subsidiary would be the most pertinent question?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was saying. Because, you know, how much value do they accord to that Aditya Medisales distribution business, whether they're going to factor in all, you know, the benefit of the past years that's also been given off. You know, so, and what's the effort that Aditya Medisales has put in terms of resources and all that. So I think that equation is what will drive the mood right now. But, you know, going back to Anuj, your question, it's so difficult to figure out whether this is one-off. There won't be anything else that comes through. Is it going to be repetitive?
Yeah.
So, you know, till they really, you know, get this passed out, it's going to be difficult to, it's going to be difficult to add more money to it, even at these levels.
You know, the other point that one of the analysts was making is not only is there a corporate governance issue, but their earnings also have not picked up.
Absolutely.
So
that is a big disappointment. So had that been good enough, Sonia, that could have set off this this downside, you know, and we could have looked at earnings, and end of the day, market is always more positively disposed towards earnings. But here that also is being stagnant, and you have smaller players like Oro and all who have been galloping ahead in this whole, you know, period. Lupin is also trying to make strides. So I don't think this is going to be so stellar in terms of a comeback.
Okay. Ekta, what about the loans that 2,238 crores that was owed to Atlas Global Trading? Now that ceases to be a loan, how will that be treated?
Well, Lata, you know, we just need more details with regards to that particular thing. So I need to probably talk to a couple of experts to get to the bottom of that in particular. But I just want to point out that there is a change of auditors in the subsidiary companies also, which has taken place, which was earlier audited by a company, Valia and Timbadia, and I think there was some concern with regards to those auditors as well. So that has been undertaken in terms of a change. And with regards to Suraksha Realty, the loans and guarantees, Sun has confirmed that there were no loans or guarantees which have been given to Suraksha Realty. But remember that the concern was Aditya Medisales giving the loans to Suraksha Realty. So, however, they've clarified that Sun Pharma has nothing to do with that particular company. So that would be an important clarification as well.
All right, Ekta, thanks a lot for that. So because of the remedial measures, maybe you could see a bit of a relief rally, but the stock in general has been in a big downtrend.